Welcome back, everybody, to the first NBA episode of the start of the regular season here. The NBA season is officially underway, and it was a good start. I mean, there was a good display of games for opening night, and this is currently the third night that we're recording this, but we're mainly going to focus to start out here on the games that happened day one, because there was a lot of, in my opinion, there was a lot of fluff games that happened day two. There wasn't too many, like, there was just kind of just everybody's first game they're kind of just playing. There's no like high octane like matchups in the second day more so than like the first day. They set up the first day to just kind of, I mean, those were four of the best teams in the basketball. The Warriors are like the best team, but it was like it's Steph Curry. So, uh, but speaking of that, the Warriors played the Lakers, and the Warriors came out on top by a fair little margin. I think it was around 10. I don't know the exact score of my head. I think it was like 120, 121 or something.
Think they won by 7.
It was 121 to something, I think.
15. Yeah, they won by 7.
Yeah. And and with Curry didn't even play that well, in my opinion. I mean, he had a triple double for the first time since 2016 or something. But that, I mean, he had like 10 and 10. He had like 21, 10 and 10, but he shot like 5 for 21, shot like 2 for 9 from three. I mean, he didn't play well at all, but they still ended up beating the Lakers, who are the super team Lakers. And I mean, they got two good guys. I mean, LeBron and AD did their thing. They both had 30. AD had like 10 rebounds, a couple blocks. LeBron had, I think, 9 rebounds and like 6 assists. LeBron he seemed very good. I mean, he was definitely the best player on the floor last night. Him and AD were kind of 1A and 1B. They were the two best players on the court. It wasn't close. But AD played very well. But LeBron just seemed very smooth. His jump shot seemed very just, he seemed like he had a consistent jump shot, which is not really something that we've seen very much of. We have kind of the past couple of years, but he was kind of looking for the shot, which is kind of different. But it seemed very smooth. But the story, I mean, it's just kind of the thing. It's the elephant in the room. I mean, everybody's saying it on every social media. You've heard about it. Uh, I don't think it's going to be a consistent thing, but Russell Westbrook uh,
So bad.
played a
So
played a terrible game. I mean, he had like 8 points and like a couple rebounds, a couple assists. Shot like 2 for 9 or 2 for 10 or something. Uh, he shot like 0 for 4 from three. His plus minus was like minus 23, I think. I mean, he just didn't seem like he fit very well. I mean, it just there there's just too many ball dominant guys on that team, in my opinion. I mean, you have LeBron just ball dominant, Russell Westbrook ball dominant, Carmelo ball dominant, and AD's kind of starting to get that way in terms of how he's starting to play, how he's starting to develop, where he kind of flourishes when he is has the ball in his hands for most of the possession. And then again, I mean, you saw it when the game started progressing. They don't have any shooters. I mean, it kind of shined out. There's nobody that really just stands out there and shoots a three. Uh, I mean, at one point, your two guys spotting up in the corner were Rondo and Westbrook. If that's your two corner guys, you might as well hang it up, because that's not the two guys you want in the corner for you. Uh, and I don't know. I mean, there was some guys that played well. I mean, again, like AD and LeBron played well. Melo didn't play bad. He didn't play good either, though. He forced a lot of shots, and I don't know. He kills me, man. He thinks it's like 2012 all the time. Like, he's not built like that anymore. Like, he tries to do too much. He forces a lot of shots, and he's 37 years old. Like, he's not quick off the first step anymore. He's not explosive. He can shoot okay. He's never really been a 3-point shooter, but doing your little ISO mid range is just dead. Like, if that just doesn't, that's not how the game functions really anymore. And even if you do, they're just going to go down and hit a three on the other end and be up a one. So it's just kind of a dead art anymore, and it just doesn't fit, especially around everybody else. I feel like this team's still gonna. I mean, they're gonna win games just because they're just gonna overpower a lot of teams. Like, this team I just don't see, despite this first game, I don't think the Warriors are a powerhouse, but I think the Warriors have potential. I feel like there was a lot of good guys. There was a lot of guys that showed they had a lot of talent outburst. Jordan Poole had a really good game. He kind of had a lot of hype coming into this season, and he showed out. He played very well. He shot the ball at a good rate. And then Curry, obviously one of the best players in the league. Draymond did what Draymond things. He had like 6, 6, and 5, and 2 steals and a block. He's going to do his thing. Valencia had a really good game for them. He fits well in that offense. He's kind of like a Draymond as well. He's a big guy. He can stretch the floor out. He can put the ball on the floor, good basketball IQ. And Iguodala played well. He's been there for a while. Kevin Looney had some good minutes, but I don't know. It's gonna be, it'll be rough to start out for the Lakers. It's just gonna be interesting to see how they fit together. And I mean, I feel like they'll figure it out eventually. I don't know if I doubt they'll be as good as everybody thinks they will be. They're not going to be like this, like just dominant force all year, and they'll be above average. But it's just going to be interesting to see how they're going to try to get things to work out there.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to watch the whole game, but I did get to watch first, second quarter, and fourth quarter. But from what I noticed, uh, before I go into but I'll save it for later. But with the players, uh, LeBron, like you said, looked. I mean, this isn't gonna be there. LeBron's gonna fall off. This isn't the year he's washed. He's still got more in the tank. I mean, he, like you said, by far the best player on the court the other night, by far. Uh, what's his name? Belins. What's his
Yeah,
name?
Bielitsa, I think.
Lita. He's great addition for that team. Because I mean, because Draymond can shoot. I think he's a better shooter than Draymond. I mean, like they need. You could tell from that game that they need. Because he's not necessarily like a big guy, but he plays like stretch four. But like because Anthony Davis just anything he wanted, he got. At least the beginning of that game, like they were throwing like half court lobs to him, and nobody could stop it. Like they had some dude from Wendy's out there guarding him. His number was 95. I was like, get this guy off the court, bro. This
Yeah,
guy, he's like 6'2", trying to guard him. They're like, yeah, he's a little bit of a size mismatch. It's like, yeah, no kidding.
yeah,
But Curry, it's just so funny because he did not shoot the ball well. You could tell by watching it. You could tell by looking at the game. Like it just, and then he had a triple double. He said, "I play like trash," and like he was honestly right. He kind of did. And just by watching that game, like you said, like Jordan Poole had a really good game, and like some of their like, and then they had like some like role players play well, but it just for some if you just watched that game, no scoreboard, you would have thought. I don't know if it's just me, but it looked like the Warriors. Like I don't know how they won that game, but they were leading pretty much the entire game. Like it just looks so weird to me. Like I don't know, but I actually like. I think Carmelo played really well. Like I mean, he shot. I mean, he shot 50% from three. And that's. I mean, let's face it. That's probably what his role is. Like, because you mentioned that they had. You know, I mean, think about the shooters on their team. You know, right off the head, like who's the best shooter on their team? I mean, they Kent Bazemore. I mean,
yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's their biggest
Melo's up
problem.
there. Like he's got to shoot. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, he shot 2 of 4. I mean, like, sure, that's 50%. It's nothing crazy. It's not a lot, but I think. I mean, he's still like you said. I mean, I think he's getting over the fact that he thinks it's 2012 all the time because he's just been in too many places where it just wasn't. I think he's gonna, especially with LeBron. I think he's gonna learn his role and try to be a good piece off that bench. But it just looks so strange, like from both teams. It's like, okay, if LeBron doesn't score or AD doesn't score, like, well, who's gonna freaking do it? Because Westbrook stinks. He's bad at basketball now. That's a shame.
wouldn't say that.
Avery Bradley played like 8 minutes, and he was arguably the third best player for their team.
Yeah, it was the other night. Yeah,
And but I figured out why I don't really like LeBron. I figured it out because
is
that's
it
one of the
about the
first.
tweet? Is about the tweet that you said?
No, no, that's
No.
still
Okay.
It's because he does what most people in sports do, the professionals. He'll go to the ref and cry about everything. In the NFL, which is what I watch most of, everybody does it too. Every wide receiver complains like that's pass interference. Every corner was like, no way, there won't pass interference. Every quarterback's like, that's roughing the passer. Everybody complains, but the camera people don't show it. They show LeBron all the time complaining, or like they'll show like a wide view of the whole court, and you could see him complaining all the time. That's the NBA's fault. Because I mean, like, I've genuinely like thought about it. Like, I actually like LeBron off the court. Like, he's like, can't argue that he's like, from what he see posted, like he's a good guy, smart businessman, all that. But like, I'm like, man, like this guy complains about every foul. That's like everybody. I mean, if you know anything about anything, that's the story. One of the stories about LeBron is that he complains all the time. But like, NBA's got to do a better job of that because then you'll see like replays every once in a while of quarterback like who like barely got touched. He's like, what? Like he hit me. Like it's, but and then like you watch. I mean, then you see like other players do it too. They just don't have the camera on them because they're like Damian Lee or
Yeah, facts.
whatever that Wendy's worker was.
I know what you're talking about. I just don't know his name. I know
It
exactly
starts
what
with
you're talking about.
T. I don't have that matters at all. His last name starts with T, but
Yeah.
but that's why. But back to my tweet. My tweet was, "Why does LeBron head to the locker room early after every game he loses?" And I swear, like I would believe you if you said, "Hey, 70% of the games that he loses, he goes to the locker room early." I'd be like, "Yeah, probably." Like it's so crazy. Like I just don't get it. Like, dude, like at this point, it's so like known and it's such a thing on Twitter. It's like just stay on the court to the buzzer. You don't even have to shake hands with nobody. Like I'm at that point. COVID, man, you can't shake people's hands. But like he's like heads back to the locker room, like a minute and a half left. I'm like, what? What are you like? What are you so in dire need of to get to the locker room that quick?
Oh,
But yeah, I mean, Warriors will. I mean, they looked like they're gonna be really good once Wiseman Clay come back. Like, really good when they come back. They look good, but I mean, because like heck, I mean they weren't even they weren't a playoff team last year, right? The whole playing game, they didn't.
yeah, they made it to the finals, but they played the Lakers. So the Lakers beat them. Well, the Lakers beat them in like the first round of the play.
But they did. So they did make it to the playoffs.
No,
Okay, so they look. I mean, they look like a playoff team, which is better than last year. But, and right now, I mean, I think the Warriors playing tonight, so technically too, but we're one game into the season. But and my pick on Jordan Poole look pretty nice.
I mean the Warriors are as we're speaking, the Warriors are down 4 points with like 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, playing the Clippers. So who knows?
Oh
Clippers
wait,
are okay,
no Kawhi. I forgot about that. So
but kind of segue into the next game that happened. The Bucks versus the Nets, probably the two best teams in the Eastern Conference, and Bucks kind of stopped their neck in. To be honest with you, I watched that entire game from tip off to buzzer, and there was really no doubt from since the tip off that that the Bucks were just a better team. And I was on a episode of I was on a radio show about it. I kind of got clowned that I picked the Bucks to win, and I took that personally. I'm not going to cap with it. I felt like the Bucks. The Bucks to show they're a better team, and I think that I truly think that. I think the Bucks are just or one of the best teams in basketball right now. I mean, they just won the title and they kept everybody. Jordan Nwora looks really good. He's a Louisville guy. Don't really like him that much, but he improved a lot in the offseason. Pat Connaughton looked good. And another guy, Grayson Allen, looked very good in that game. He's kind of a spot up shooter off the bench role. He played very well. And Chris Middleton was smooth. Giannis was played like the best player on the planet. And Drew Holiday played very well when he was in before he got hurt. But he didn't really get hurt. He just kind of got bruised up a little bit and just sat out the rest of the game. But I mean, he's back. He's going to be back for the next. I think he's back this game anyway, or today's game. But
yeah,
I mean, the Bucks. I mean, they just look so good. I mean, they're such a good defensive team. when you got guys like Brook Lopez and Giannis and Drew Holiday, and it's just I mean those are some of the best defenders in the league. I mean Giannis won Defensive Player of the Year 2 years ago. And he was a finalist last season MVP. I mean he's one of the best defenders in the league. Drew Holiday, one of the best, if not the best perimeter defender in basketball. And they got offense too. I mean Giannis is unstoppable on offense. Drew Holiday's developed his game a lot. He was smooth, he was really silky, getting to the basket well, shooting the mid range well, shooting the three well when he's on the court. And Chris Middleton, mid range Middleton, as some call him, uh, very smooth. I mean, he's just a pure shooter, and he's got a lot of good bench pieces too. Bobby Portis is a good guy. He's hurt right now, but he's another piece you can just add in when he gets healthy. And I mean, there's just a lot of guys that are good. I mean, DiVincenzo's hurt right now still, and he played very well last season on a championship roster. And he'll be back. Bobby Portis will be back. These guys, just like again, like Jordan Nwora, Grayson Allen, all these guys, Pat Connaughton, all these guys are solid. I mean, they're just solid. George Hill. I don't like George Hill at all. One of my least favorite basketball players of all time. But he played. I mean, he's played well, I guess. But I mean, they just got. I mean, it's just top to bottom. They just played very well. And Budenholzer has a good scheme. He's a defensive minded coach with a lot of defensive minded players. It just kind of fits well. And I don't know. They're definitely the team to beat in the East. And on the other hand, the Nets, they didn't look bad, to be honest. They didn't. I mean, Durant played very well. He had like 32 points. Harden played well. Uh, Patty Mills looking like one of the better signings in the offseason. Went 7 for 7 from the 3 point line, kind of just doing his thing. It's what they signed him to do is just come off the bench and shoot. And he did that. He was perfect. He's had 20, I think he had 23 points in total. It's just their problem is their backup. They're just their big guys. Their big guys are just not good, to be honest. I mean, Claxton's just so soft. I mean, he got bullied all night. If you're getting bullied by like Brook Lopez, I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, he's getting bullied. I mean, if you get bullied by Giannis, so what? So does everybody. But like Brook Lopez and like we can't be doing that. And then he got bullied by Middleton a lot too. I mean he was just getting bullied. And then like Blake Griffin, no. Paul Millsap, no. Aldridge, no. Like they're all these guys are they're just old and they're slow, and they did a really good job of taking advantage of the pick and roll. As soon as those guys were in, they immediately put them in pick and roll situations where they had to switch onto the guard, and they scored on every single. It was a stat on every single time. Aldridge, Blake Griffin, or Claxton and Millsap switched on a guard, 100%. They scored 100% of those possessions. And I mean, it's just and teams are going to exploit that every single time. I mean, these guys are old. I mean, this is how it is. I mean, that's what everybody's saying. This isn't 7 years ago. If this team was on the court 7 years ago, they'd smoke everybody, just like the Lakers. But I mean, that's just such a big exploit for a lot of teams. And I don't know. I mean, they did a very good job of exploiting it. And I just think at the end of the day, it's just Kyrie's the X factor for that team. For that team to get over the hump, he has to play because those two guys can't do it by themselves because they just don't have enough. I mean, they have like there's guys out there like Joe Harris isn't bad, Patty Mills is pretty solid, but everybody that's about it. I mean, if you're 3 and 4, Patty Mills and Joe Harris. I mean, even if it's Harden and Durant, like those are two of the best players in the league. Those are two probably top 7 players in the league, to be honest. And it's just that they still can't get it done. It's just like LeBron and AD last year. I mean, you have to have a somewhat decent supporting cast, or it just doesn't work. Even if you have two of the best guys in the NBA, you still have to have a supporting cast that's at least decent. And if you have Kyrie, then it just makes things a lot easier for everybody. And I hope he comes back because that team's just so fun to watch. And when those three guys played last year, it was just it was such a joy to watch because that's three of the best shot creators of all time on the same team, and it's just fun to watch. And but at the end of the day, I just think the Bucks are the force to be reckoned with in the East, if not the entire league.
I mean, they just won a championship and they kept their guys. Like, I mean, of course, casual, not even casual because they're still a good team, but like a lot of people are like, the Nets are so good. I mean,
Yeah.
Kyrie,
the Nets
like
were
I
like,
mean, it's that classic those three kids on the couch meme. Like,
yeah,
how is anybody gonna be able to stop Kyrie, Harden, and
yeah,
KD? But I mean, they need somebody else because, like you said, I mean, like even like it's not. I don't even think it has to be Kyrie necessarily. I mean, but they just need somebody else out there because I mean, like you said, if you're 3/4, Patty Mills and Joe Harris, yikes,
yeah. It's tough.
yikes. Like, I mean, because you've seen the blueprint with people like Patty Mills on the Spurs. Whenever they won, he was like their eighth best player.
Mhm.
Don't matter. I mean, and I mean, you brought it up too. Like, I mean, I love LaMarcus Aldridge. He's one of my favorite players ever. And like Blake Griffin's, whatever I guess. But like you said, like I mean, and this is looking like them and the Lakers are looking like the 2013 East and West All Star teams. Like I mean, yeah, they're cool names and stuff, but I mean, they can't produce like they did once upon a time. Like I mean, Aldridge had to retire last year because of like medical reasons, and like yeah, he got cleared to play again, but like, you ever thought that he might be a little out of shape?
Yeah, it was a heart issue too. Like it was a whole body functioning issue.
Yeah, like you think he's gonna be good to go like right away? I mean, I'm sure he'll get his legs back because I mean that's what a lot of people say. Like a lot of NBA analysts say, like especially people that played, they're like, yeah, all these people put their muscle on, but then you'll run it off, and just the same with if you got a little too chunky in the off season, you'll run all that off once the season gets going. So I mean, I'm sure the Nets will be. I'm sure, especially those guys, like those people, even though they're old, but there have been like well-known names and like top of the league once upon a time. I'm sure they'll get their legs back because they just have that. They just have that, to Melo's sometimes Melo's detriment. I'm that guy. So they have that in them to where they feel like I don't know a responsibility to be hardworking to get to that point. But night one looked a little rough.
Mhm. I mean, I'll just segue onto the it's kind of a reoccurring theme on these episodes. I mean, the saga continues with Mr. Simmons out in Philadelphia. Been kind of the center of the NBA media for the past greater part of about 2 weeks, and just keeps getting worse. To be honest, I mean, he's just kind of digging himself into a bigger hole. The more that the days go on, I mean, we haven't talked about. I mean, we haven't had an episode since the whole practice thing happened. But I mean, he probably. I mean, if you don't know, then I guess I'll say. I mean, he showed up to practice, didn't really try. Asked him to do a defensive drill. He said no, and Doc Rivers said, "Well, then just don't be here if you're not going to try." He said, "Bet," and he just left. And then he just left, and they suspended him for the first game, and he's officially ruled out of the second game as well. For I guess unknown reasons, probably the same reason, I guess. But I don't know, man. I mean, it's just such a weird situation. Like, why'd you even come back if you're gonna be
Yeah,
like this? Like, just stay at home. And I don't know. Like, it's just. I talked about this on the earlier today. It's just if as soon as you release the media statement in the first place, which was in the summer or whenever, I don't remember the exact date. Whenever he did, when Woj came out and said like he doesn't want anything to do with the organization, he doesn't want to be back. He doesn't want to play another game. He doesn't intend to play another game with him or whatever. As soon as that got released and you verified it, you simply cannot go back, no matter what, because at the back of everybody's mind, when you play, that's what they're going to think. And it just, I mean, I know all the guys are saying, I mean, they won the first game or whatever without him. All the guys are saying, like, oh, we're like, like he could play, like, we wouldn't care or whatever, like, we're a team. No, that's not how it's going to be.
it's not
I
how
mean,
Joel thinks. It's not what
no.
Joel said.
But that was like one of the main media statements after their win or whatever, like, oh, we're still a team or whatever. It's like, not really. I mean, your second best player is not even on the court and
And doesn't want to be on the
and
court.
doesn't want to be on the court, so you're not a full team. So I mean, they're just trying to sugarcoat it now. I mean, I just genuinely don't know what the organization is going to do with him or what he's going to do. I mean, I'm thinking they're just going to try to. I'm guessing they're still trying to trade him. I honestly don't know at this point. I don't know what team's going to take him. I mean,
Did you see what Daryl Morey said, their GM?
mm,
He said this could be. He said better buckle up because this could be a 4-year thing before we trade him. Like what?
yeah, like I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the only
That valuable? Like just to sit on the bench? Like
yeah, I feel like the only way that he gets out effectively now is that he has to come back and play well or play at the same level he did before to get his value back up so he can be traded. Because right now his value is next to nothing
but
of
I
him
don't
just
see how they would trade him then. If what Daryl Morey said was true, because I mean, it possibly was. It possibly could just be bait to try to get a team to call. But like, if he goes out there and plays well and stuff, like, why would they trade him? Like, if he, like, who cares? I mean, really, honestly, nobody cares if he's having a good time if they win a bunch of games and go on a big playoff run. I mean,
I mean, but like I would just we've seen over the past years that that doesn't work. Like the team with him doesn't work in the playoffs. I mean, it wins you a crap ton of regular season games. I mean, they were the one seed
no,
last
I
year.
know, yeah, I get that, but I
But
mean,
like, I mean, like for him, like he has to go out there and play well to get traded. That's what I'm saying.
I think he couldn't. I think he blew it by coming back at all.
I don't know. I mean, but I mean, I'm going back to like the summertime where like if he did come back, like his options were don't ever step back in a facility of the 76ers franchise, or you come into training camp with a mentality like, okay, I'm going to ball out and get traded to the team I want because the team actually wants me because I'm a good player. But that didn't happen.
It
And
just
now,
was so weird by him just coming back and then leaving again. Like that was just so odd.
yeah, I mean, it's literally he was in a he wasn't even in the worst spot of him not showing up. Like there's been players not do that and get what they want in the past. Like that's been an effective method in the past. But that's literally the one of the worst things he could have possibly can just what he could have done is show up and look like an idiot and play with his phone in his pocket and then get kicked out of practice. I mean, it just doesn't. I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. I still don't know what he was thinking. He came back again. Well, he came back to another practice and then he like said something was wrong with his back or whatever, and he got some treatment and then he just left again. Like he never even like did a drill or anything. So I don't know what he's doing. I don't know. I don't know the mindset. Maybe it's just a part of a big scheme that nobody knows about. He's going to get traded to like the Lakers or something. Like who knows? Like I don't know what's going on with it, but it's just so one of the most unique and just confusing situations I've seen in the NBA in a long time.
He's probably gonna get traded to the Pacers for like Karis LeVert or something like that.
I I'd so be okay with that. I would be perfectly okay with that.
Dude, I thought I would be because Sacramento was a team like whisper out there, but dude, like, I mean, I know he's good and it probably wouldn't matter, but man, he's just so annoying. Like, I don't,
I mean,
like, I don't
I
want
feel like he
to
as soon as he
really bad.
leaves, yeah, I feel like as soon as he leaves, he won't be though. Like he was never.
He will never shoot the ball farther than 6 feet away.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean, like I meant like he won't be annoying. Like I feel like he'll be fine as soon as he leaves.
I
I
find that so annoying. Like, I would believe it or not, I could hit a 15-foot jump shot.
yeah.
He can't. Simple as that. He can't,
I
or
mean,
he
he
won't.
can. You see clips of him in practice. You think he's Steph Curry. I don't know what happens in a game. It's like there used
He
I
clips
don't
it LA Fitness, and he's out there looking the third splash, bro.
I don't know. It's got like the yips or something when he gets in a game. Like there used to be a guy for the Yankees at second. I forget his name, but he just couldn't throw the ball to he couldn't throw the ball to first, and it got him out of the league. Like he was one of the better second basemen in baseball, and then he just something happened. He couldn't throw the ball to first base anymore, and it's
That'll happen.
just I don't know. Like it's just he just as soon as he gets in an actual game, he just locks up. He's like, I can't shoot it anymore, and he has to go in there and drive. And he still plays well. I mean, he's one of the better players in the league. So I don't know. I just
If
don't understand.
he had game environment, like game feel, and he was in a gym by himself, and the paint was just covered, couldn't get in it, he might have 6 points if he was in there for 24 hours. Like, I mean, legit.
Yeah, I
If he
don't
felt
know.
like how he felt in the game and he couldn't go in the paint, he'd be like, he tried to pass it. to nobody. He'll give
True.
himself.
I don't know.
I'm hoping they trade him soon because I'm kind of done talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much to talk about. I mean, he's just making bad decision after bad decision, and I mean, it's just kind of laughable at this point because you're just kind of screwing yourself out of millions of dollars by the day, and I don't know. A lot of people would be very blessed to be in the situation he's in. He's kind of blowing it. So that's kind of what's frustrating to me. There's a lot of guys, even on that roster, that have grinded all summer and have proven their spot on the team, and they're kind of getting overshadowed, or kind of like they play well enough to get the money that he does, and they don't have it, or they don't have the opportunities that he has, and he's kind of just not doing anything with it and kind of just wasting it. Same thing with Kyrie. I mean, that's a whole different can of worms. I'm not going to get into the COVID vaccine debate on this show because I don't feel like it. But I mean, he's just wasting millions of dollars by the day by not getting it. So, I mean, it's his choice. It's your right to not get it, I guess. But it's also their right to not pay you any money because that's your job and that's your employer. So, again, I'm not going to get into it, but I don't know. It's just frustrating to see because I do like Ben Simmons. I've been a big Ben Simmons guy for a while. I think he's just a very unique player, and he can add a lot to a lot of rosters. And I feel like if he just stayed at home like a normal person and didn't show up to camp, act like a 12-year-old, I feel like he still could have got traded. I feel like if he didn't show up to camp at all, like I feel like he could have got traded. Like he could have already been traded by now. Like
Probably.
I mean, he probably would have. Like he probably would have gotten traded before the season started. But as soon as he stepped in the facility, it was over. And I don't know. I feel bad for the Sixers organization because they're kind of just stuck. They don't really know what to do because this is just such a. I mean, this has never really happened. Nothing like this series of events hasn't really ever happened before. And I don't know. It's just kind of. I don't know. It's just unfortunate for the teammates as well. Because I mean, he doesn't want to be there, and I know none of them like him anymore. Rightfully so. He deserves it.
Joel Embiid does not like him at
No,
all.
he never really has, to be honest. I mean, you could tell over the past couple of years, it's kind of just been a downward spiral, and this kind of just put the cherry on top. But I mean, now
He
like
really,
nobody likes him. Even if people did like him, now nobody likes him. So even if he does play, it's going to be impossible to team chemistry is going to be in the dirt. So I don't know. It's just such a weird situation. Well, I mean, that's pretty much all we got for right now. I mean, again, we've only kind of seen really 2 days. Not there still hasn't been as of right now. Every team still hasn't played, so we can't really get a true assessment of like who the best. I mean, even we can't even if every team's played one game, we still can't really assess on what the powerhouses or anything are going to be this season. So we'll have more. We'll have about a weekend next episode we do, so we'll kind of have better assessments then of who's washed or who's underrated or who's a dominant powerhouse. But again, let us know in the comments what you think. Do you think we're wrong? Do you think Westbrook's good? Do you think uh, Curry's the best ever? Uh, I don't
he
know. I
had
mean,
25 quarter tonight, just frame of reference.
yeah. I mean, he bounced back very well. I mean, I didn't figure he was going to shoot like that again,
Yeah, probably
but
not.
I don't know. I mean, I mean, you can still comment who you got to win it all. I mean, we've seen some of the best teams play already. So do you think? Just let us know what you think, man. I mean, it's again, we like interacting with the people, and if you haven't, look at our Instagram, comment on all the posts on there, what your favorite team is and stuff. Just be sure to like and comment, subscribe, notification bell, all that stuff, man. Uh, until next time, catch you guys later.